5, that one is independent or separate from God. This actually is essentially the root of all problems for mankind. The concept or the conceptualization that we as spiritual entities called Atmas are independent, separate, autonomous authorities away from God. Now, I need to qualify this and explain this well, because this is a point that's often misunderstood. Independence is a very valued thing in the world. It is seen as a positive quality because it is, when discussing human beings, it is good if we are not dependent on other human beings, right? Similarly, we said earlier that in point number 1, the biggest mistake we make is to think that we can depend on anybody other than God for our security. So this is connected to that point, right? That if we believe ourselves to be independent, then it's a good thing, because at least there we've already stopped the concept that we depend on anyone else to secure us. The problem is if we extend that all the way to God, and we say that we are also independent from Him and don't depend on Him for anything. We don't depend on Him for our existence, for our purpose, for our attainment, for our security, for everything. That is a mistake, because it is not factual. It is let's say, a wrong understanding or a wrong perception of things. It is not even a choice that you really have available to you. All you can do is you either choose to accept the reality or you choose to live in denial. This is essentially the Sri Vaishnava concept of it. You cannot separate from God because you are intrinsically a part of Him. And that part cannot go to the extent of being so rebellious as to say, I am leaving reality. God is reality. He pervades everything and is everything, both spiritual and the material. So there's no option for you to say, I don't like this place, I'm quitting reality. Then you go into the unreal. And by definition, that doesn't exist. Therefore, there are only two options. Either you accept what is, or you live in denial of what is. And those two options are essentially available to us. However, if we live in denial of what is, then we give birth to all the problems that we then experience, that were not intended necessarily for us to experience, but are available to us if we so wish to have them. So I'll give you a very basic explanation for this, and I like to make an analogy for this using my body, okay? So bear with me. Pretend, and I'm stressing the word pretend, that I'm God, okay? And the jiva is this hand. So the jiva, this hand, is covered by avidya, ignorance, and so it believes itself to be independent. It does not understand its connection to the rest of the body. It does not introvert itself and therefore see that it is part of a larger organism. It is an outward-facing, independent, separate entity, or at least it believes itself to be. Will the hand ever be? No, factually it remains connected, but it will convince itself of its separation. And so it will attempt to do all kinds of things. But because it is not working in unison with the rest of the organism, it will often act in ways that are annoying or incoherent, or sometimes even damaging to the organism. Because it is unable to recognize, for example, when it meets a second jiva, that they are actually linked by God. They see themselves as being two separate, independent jivas, and so they fight each other. And this is nothing more than self-sabotage. And this is why this point is emphasized here as point number 5, that one is independent or separate from God is a mistake. And this mistake leads to our conflicts, to our problems, to our fearful natures, our protective natures, our fighting natures, because we are always afraid that we're going to lose our independence, that we're going to lose what we have, because there are other things, other beings competing with us. This is because collectively we are all ignorant of the fact that we are one organism. We are not in competition with anybody. If we were to understand our constitutional position, that this hand is nothing but part of this body called God, even though it has its independent function, then everything could work in harmony. Okay? The hand does not stop being a hand. The hand does not lose its identity. It loses its ultimate independency, the idea that it is separate from God. That is falsehood. Okay? So the jiva has identity, but it does not have independence from Bhagwan. Okay? That's the point that I was illustrating. Point number 6. The individual self is identical to God. Another common misconception, okay? So in light of chapter 15, verse 7, and in light of some of the examples that I've given to you, and probably in light of your own experiences, this one is quite easy to understand why this would be a problem. If we see ourselves as being identical to God, then I think pride and arrogance would probably be our first concerns. And second, frustration, because although we may conceive of ourselves as being equal to God, we will very quickly find out that practically that doesn't necessarily manifest itself. It seems that we can't make universes, and we struggle to fly, and we struggle to do the most basic things that God can essentially do. And so we start to cultivate all kinds of other problems. Now, I'm not going to go deeper into that discussion. That is a large philosophical black hole. But essentially, the point I'm making here is in light of chapter 15, verse 7 of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, it is an eternal portion of me. Amsha is the Sanskrit that becomes the jiva in the world of living creatures. Okay? In that sense, we cannot mistakenly think that our individual self is identical to the Supreme Self, God. It is identical in quality, not in quantity. This is explained by the 5 shared Swarupa inherent natures. It is jnana. We are conscious like God is conscious. We are knowledgeable like God is knowledgeable. We are sat, we are true, we exist like God is true and exists. Ananda is our experience in nature, bliss, like Ananda is God's experience in nature. Amala or Amaltva, that our nature is pure and incorruptibly so, just like God's is. And lastly, that we are Ananta, which means eternal, just like God is eternal. Those things, yes, are identical to God. But our capacity, our potency, our, let's say, quantity, if that can be the right term to be used, is not the same. Okay? Number 7. There is some other supporter of the universe other than God. This is the next mistake. To think that anything supports the universe other than God. So, why this is highlighted here? Because often it's not that we think God has some competition, that there are some other gods trying to compete with him. No, that's not the point here. It's that we often think we ourselves sustain this world. We often think that nature itself is an independent law from God. That nature is something God does not meddle with, and nature sustains nature. There are many different concepts that people have. But we must understand that even if nature sustains nature, even if we sustain nature, who empowers us? The abilities and skills that we have to be able to do this come from God. Who empowers nature to exist in the first place? God. What is nature? A part of God. What are we? A part of God. All this has been established. So that being the case, then the one and only supporter of this universe is none other than God. Okay? Lastly, point number 8, the 8th potential mistaken concept that is avoided through this course so far, is that the individual is the enjoyer or experiencer of the universe. And this is the biggest of them all, and the hardest one to convince people that they're not. Because enjoying things turns out that that's actually quite enjoyable. And so telling somebody that actually you did not come here to enjoy things, it requires some very meticulous education, experience, and maturity to grasp. Now, I'm going to attempt a short version of it so that we can understand this principle. In the Gita, Krishna says that essentially when material nature engages with other material nature, often it leads to immediate pleasure or enjoyment. But because it is something impermanent experiencing something else impermanent, eventually that experience has an end. As that experience has an end, what was previously enjoyable now becomes a source of misery and frustration. And it sets the conditioned soul, materially entangled soul, on a journey to now start a new experience since the previous one ended. But unfortunately, that new one will also end. And on goes the cycle. And so although the many things that we pursue and the many things we experience are factually enjoyable, they are also factually finite. And so them being finite is a huge problem to the enjoyable nature or enjoyable aspect of it. It makes it ultimately a very temporary enjoyment, a very superficial enjoyment, a very aimless and pointless enjoyment. And so we start to question whether we are really here to enjoy for ourselves or not, because it seems like a very strenuous and futile exercise, one that is almost always designed to fail. Now, the logical conclusion of that would be, well, the reason it's failing is because we are seeking our enjoyment from temporary, impermanent things, material things. And if we were instead to seek our enjoyment from spiritual things, then that enjoyment would be permanent and we wouldn't run into this problem. And so the thing is that then once we pursue God, for example, having been identified as the, let's say, permanent option that is available to us, or perhaps not even God, let's go one step lower. Once we identify our soul, we say, I have a soul and that is a permanent side of myself. I'm going to pursue the soul. Then we have an entirely different experience, and that is that we do go in pursuit of that soul. We may conduct all kinds of spiritual practices and we get there. And we think, well, that was devoid of any service or enjoyment to God. That was all about me. And you'll get to your soul and you'll feel great. But the problem is, or the nice thing about it is, perhaps is the best way to call it, is that the soul, one of its 5 inherent natures was Jnanam. It has knowledge of its own reality. And so when you get there, the soul will tell you, hey, this isn't it. There's more. And at that point, you will realize that the more is a relationship with God. And so the ultimate experience or the ultimate destination of any jiva is that relationship towards God. And because God is the sustainer, we are the sustained. He is the savior, we are the saved. And all those that I explained, the relationship is ultimately one of servitude to Him. Most importantly, surrender to Him. And surrendering to Him means that we set aside our own, let's say, wishes in favor of the one we love, because that is the real nature of love. Love is not selfish. And so the soul, being inherently knowledgeable, understands its position constitutionally and surrenders when it is no longer afflicted by avidya. And as it surrenders, any notion of it being the enjoyer or it being the center of the universe or the purpose of its existence being its own satisfaction goes out of the window together with that moment. The minute the veil of ignorance is lifted from the soul, so is lifted this concept of my existence being only about myself. The hand lives for the hand until the hand realizes it's part of the body. Then the hand only lives for the body. That is the only way to understand it. So, those are the 8 mistaken conceptualizations about the soul and its relationship towards God. And I've addressed them all so that we can be very clear on those, at least from a Sri Vaishnava perspective, according to Pillai Lokacharya and corroborated by Guruji. Okay?